Have you ever heard of a house that wasn't supposed to exist? Sounds like something straight out of a ghost story, right? Well, let me tell you this. It's real. And it's a place that I'll never forget, no matter how much I wish I could. It started like any other weekend. My friends and I had just finished up a school project and decided to head out for a little adventure. We were looking for something to do, something new. We had heard some rumors about an old abandoned house at the edge of town. It wasn't in the usual neighborhood, and no one really knew who owned it, but it was a popular topic of conversation among the locals. Most people would talk about it in hushed tones, like it was some kind of secret. We weren't scared, though. In fact, we were excited. My friends and I were the adventurous type, the ones who went looking for haunted places just to prove we weren't afraid. This time, however, I wasn't so sure. When we finally arrived at the location, it was, well, strange. The house sat there, perfectly positioned in the middle of a wide, empty field. It looked out of place, like it didn't belong. The grass around it was overgrown, and there were no other houses nearby. It was as if this place had been forgotten by time, or maybe never even existed in the first place. Still, we decided to explore. The moment we approached, something felt off. Have you ever walked into a room and just immediately felt like something wasn't right? That's exactly how it felt walking toward that house. It was like the air had changed, like the world had shifted around us. As we got closer, I noticed something odd. The house seemed to be old, but not in the way I expected. It looked like it had been abandoned for years, windows cracked, paint peeling. But it also seemed freshly built at the same time. The door was slightly ajar, and I swear I heard soft footsteps coming from inside. But no one was around. I turned to my friends, but they were already heading inside, excited to explore. I hesitated for a moment, but curiosity won over. With a deep breath, I followed them in. The door creaked open, revealing an even stranger inside. Dust and cobwebs covered the corners, and the air was thick with a musty smell, like an old attic. But there was something else. Something unsettling, as if the house itself were alive. We walked down the hall and saw it. Another door. One that hadn't been there when we first entered. It felt out of place, almost like it had appeared out of nowhere. Josh was the first to speak. "Should we go in?" His voice was shaky. Without waiting for an answer, he turned the handle and stepped inside. The room was empty, a simple square with a window overlooking the field. But then we noticed the window, old, rusted, and covered in thick dust, as if untouched for years. The air grew colder and we all felt it, a chill creeping down our spines, despite the warm weather outside. Then, we heard it. A whisper. It was faint, but we all heard it. Someone calling our names in an urgent, desperate tone, like they were trying to warn us. We froze. Josh looked at us, his face pale. "Did you hear that?" "Yeah," I whispered. I heard it too. The voices weren't just one. They layered over each other, coming from nowhere. Suddenly, the door slammed shut. Panic surged, and we rushed to open it, but it wouldn't budge. "We need to get out," Sarah said, her voice shaking. She rushed to the window and her face went white. "Guys, something's wrong." We crowded around her and looked out. The field was gone, replaced by thick fog, and in it, a tall figure with glowing eyes stood just beyond the mist. We turned away from the window, hearts racing, as the voices grew louder, urging, "Get out. Leave now." Somehow the door opened, and we ran out of the house, desperate to escape. Once outside, we glanced back. The house was still there, unchanged, but it wasn't the same. We all knew it. We walked back in silence, each of us processing what we'd just felt. That house shouldn't have been there, but there it was. Years later, when the fog rolls in, I still think about it. I remember the strange door, the whispers, and the figure. Maybe it's still waiting for the next group of curious souls. Do you believe in places that shouldn't exist? Share your thoughts or your own spooky experiences in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that will keep you up at night.